Welcome to this episode of Forgiving the Girl Inside, a Matter of the Heart. This is May of 2022, and we're doing a podcast blast, Sharing the Secret, where courageous women post-abortion, miscarriage, and loss of a child are sharing their healing journey stories on how they grieved to heal, how they revealed to heal their loss. Today's beautiful guest is Denise, and she is going to share her story of miscarriage. Thank you so much, Denise, for your willingness to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell us, I love the background. It's so bright and beautiful. So tell us, what was life like? Get right into the nitty gritty. What was life like? You found out you were pregnant. This was your first pregnancy. What was going on?
Yeah, so my first pregnancy, I didn't even know what to expect. It was, kind of like you don't know what you don't know. And when I did find out that I was pregnant, obviously I was very, very excited. And I went through the whole process, and I didn't feel any different than I had before I had gotten pregnant, but I was going through the process. And then I started to get, some symptoms, and I just, took it easy and did everything that the doctor said. And I was actually headed out of town to go up north, and I wasn't feeling good in the car. And I didn't know why, just kind of like an upset stomach and a little hot and crampy because it was in the summer. And I just thought because the heat got to me, and maybe it was because I was pregnant, and never having experienced that before, I did not know if it was just because my hormones were changing or what was going on. So I was really kind of naive to all of this. It's just kind of like you're figuring things out as you go. So we continued the process and ended up going up north for the weekend. And I kind of kept it low. I mean, I engaged in, a few activities, but when we started to leave, I didn't feel good again, and I didn't know why. So halfway home, it was a 3-hour drive home, I had to go to the bathroom like really, really bad. And I was like to my husband, oh my gosh, you have got to pull over. I have got to go to the bathroom. Stop at a gas station. And when I did, I didn't realize, but he was getting kind of concerned because apparently I was in there for like over a half hour, and I had started bleeding and I didn't spotting, and I wasn't quite sure because then all of a sudden the cramps started, and then I was like very, very concerned. And it happened to be over Father's Day weekend. I'll never forget. And so we ended up having to stop, pick up a few things that we were going to go meet our parents at to celebrate Father's Day. And I was just trying to muster through it, saying, it's okay, just take it slow, take some water, put your feet up, whatever. And it continued to get worse. And so we had called the doctor, and they said to rest and put your feet up. And then all of a sudden, as I did that, it stopped. So I thought I was okay. And so I went to bed, and of course, it's on your mind, what's going on. And it was right at the middle of the night, just, I couldn't sleep anymore. And the cramps were so bad. And I got up and I couldn't even walk to the bathroom. And I was doubled over in pain. I couldn't even get up on the toilet or anything. And like my breathing got short and everything. So my husband had called the nurse's line and said, yeah, she's miscarriaging. And at that point, there were things coming out of me that I had no idea. I mean, like I was a blood clots, like really, really thick. And it was so disheartening because I was just laying over trembling in pain. And then all of a sudden it got so bad that it was like my breathing was, it wasn't right. And it was probably because my body was in shock too, because I was shaking so much, but I was trying to, control it. But this was a pain that was just worse than a normal period. I mean, literally worse than a normal period. And so unfortunately, we called back to the doctor, and they're like, yes, whatever you can do, please capture everything in a container. We need to evaluate this, and we need to see what's going on. And sure enough, it progressed for a couple of hours where I just laid on the floor, doubled over. And I was at the point where I just had to rock myself because I just had to soothe it. And then if I felt like I had to get up to go to the bathroom, I had a container between my legs, as graphic as that is. And yeah, as I passed it, it was just kind of horrific. You're just kind of looking in this container and just.
Yeah. Wow. It must have been so scary and so sad. And how did you feel when you, I mean, obviously you're going, it's almost like, well, what did you feel like when you were going through that? And they said to capture it
Yeah,
in
well,
a
you're not thinking of that because it's just like, I don't want to put, my child in a container, and
yeah,
I don't want to be in a container. I mean, using the analogy and, what was actually happening and why it happened, all these things go through your head and, what did I do? And, you know, um, just so many things that go through your head that you're like, am I going to be okay? Obviously, I couldn't carry this child. And is there anything left in me that would leave clots or be detrimental to my own health? And how can I prevent this in the future? And how long is the recovery? And does this prevent me from having other children? And there's just endless questions because
yeah,
first of all, it was the first time I ever gotten pregnant in my life. And then, to continue to go through that. So, I mean, it's always really, really hard. And, um, to watch that process and then to have to do the follow-up with it and to actually deliver it and have them, figure out what was going on, if it was anything with me or the baby or whatnot. And, and then just the questions they ask you, it's almost like interrogation, right? But it's not. I mean, it was for the betterment of myself and my own health and the child and everything like that. But yeah, it was just a whirlwind, like what just happened to me,
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm just getting chills listening to you because just picturing that, how painful and alone. I mean, how come they don't have you go to the hospital for that? They just made you do it
no,
at
because
home.
I was already in the midst of, passing the child. So,
Wow.
um, that would have
How
been
far
the
along were you?
that one was close to, I believe the first one was 10 weeks. So obviously it happened again. Yeah, so that one was close to 8 to 10 weeks on that one.
Yeah. Were you able to tell how the sex of the child, or did they let you
The girl.
know? It
It
was
was
a
a girl.
girl. Did you give her a name?
I didn't, but I did get to pick out where I wanted her remains.
Oh, that's neat. So
Mhm.
you
The
did you
first one
actually?
I did. It was through the hospital. They have a place
Okay.
and I could choose.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Wow. I didn't. Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I've interviewed other ladies who have gone through that experience, and each has, depending on how old the child was, depends on like what their options were. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So then what happened afterwards? Like, so you went through the process, you buried the child, the little girl.
So, right. And, obviously I went through lots of doctor's appointments to make sure that, I had healed and there wasn't really anything wrong with me. And we went through, testing and they said that, you should be totally fine, you know, give yourself a couple months and heal and, have another get back on cycle and stuff like that. And, they didn't see any reason why I couldn't have children. So I can, after that, I tried again and I miscarried. Um, then I tried again and I miscarried. And then I
Uh,
tried again and I miscarried. And then I tried the fifth time and I miscarried. And I was determined not to give up. And I went through infertility, and infertility was a nightmare. You really have to have the right doctor because, when you don't go to a care facility that's really in the best interest of the
mhm.
patient and working with them, and you're just another number. I mean, I came back with this one doctor and I just been all bruised and it was just like you came in and you were just another number. Like, here, here's your stuff, here's your shots, go do this, see you next time, check in with you. And it's like so impersonable. And
Mhm.
I'm like, that's crazy. So one of the second to the last time I went there, I was feeling this uncertainty about really, even walking in the doors, the atmosphere, how you can feel that energy. And that particular day, the nurse said, okay, you're up for these shots, and, the lab person will meet you over there. And I got there. The lab person didn't even say anything to me. She straps the bands on me, and, she's taking blood and giving a shot here and there. And she goes, well, if you don't feel good, you can call later or whatever. And I'm like, wow, that really hurt. And she goes, really? You're not that tough. That doesn't hurt. So like even discounting your feelings, and then I'm black and blue on it. And I'm like, I can take a lot of pain. I'm a pretty strong woman. I can take a lot of pain, but when it instantly turns black and blue, when I tell her, obviously she didn't do something right and she didn't really care. And then she's like, yeah, if you have shortness of breath or breathing or whatever, just call the hotline at the end. She goes, but you've been through this before, which I had. It'd been such a long time that, with 5 miscarriages, I had been through that. So I know what to expect, and I know my breathing, and I know what to feel, but they had changed my medication. And that night I had went home, and it just nothing felt right. Like the whole doctor's visit didn't seem right. Speaking with the nurses didn't. The way they gave me my shots, they didn't. And I woke up and I didn't know if it was a combination of all this anxiety. And I was like, no, this isn't anxiety. This is just not feeling right. So, I called sitting on the couch at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and they're like, oh, well, you're overreacting.
No. Okay.
I personally get up at 1 o'clock for you to tell me that I'm overreacting. I know my body. I've been through this 5 times. I know, right? And so it was just at that point where I'm like, you know what? I'm done with these people. And so obviously I went and saw someone else, and I think it was 1 or 2 times of infertility. And by switching to this doctor, I was able to get pregnant and sustain it. And so my 6th pregnancy was a live birth, and that's when I delivered my son. And then after going through that, they had said to me, we know how to reboot your system without any medication. If you really want another child, do it really quick. We're going to tell you when to come off breastfeeding. We'll reboot your system and try to get pregnant right away. Because if it happens right away, they'll be able to have another child. But if it doesn't, your chances are probably not good. And they did, and they had my daughter.
Oh, well, that's a beautiful ending to that story. When you were pregnant with your son, that would have been your 6th pregnancy. Did you worry that you would miscarry, or were they monitoring you really closely? Did you have to do any extra care?
So. Yep, I had a lot. I had a lot of care during that one, and they had to monitor me closely. And I also had to take heparin injections into my stomach, and I had to administer them to myself in the morning and in the evening. So I became my own little nurse that would give myself shots every single day. And I did that for 9 months, and to the point where I was so blown up from, medications and just being swollen and how my body reacted to it and everything, that, as you can see, I'm not a very big person, but by 4 months into the pregnancy, 4 or 5 months, I had already gained 50 pounds. And I thought it was pretty much water weight and stuff like that, but I was very, very large. But I didn't care. I was sustaining the pregnancy, and I was doing all my shots and everything that they had said. And then, I was able to deliver them. So naturally.
What was your thought process through it, though? Like, how did you feel every single day giving yourself shots? Were you worried that, is this child going to make it? I've already lost 5.
No, actually, you know what? That is probably the crazy thing that most people will say, hey, how can you not think like that? But at that one, I got pregnant, and I was just like, once I know I was past that first trimester and they were administering me and giving the medications, I never thought that I would. I don't know if I was being naive, but I never thought that I would lose it. I thought
That's
that I would
awesome.
full term. Mm-hmm.
Did you with the 5 losses, the first one was a girl, were you able to find out the sexes of the other children?
They told me I could, but I didn't want to know at that point.
Okay. And did they tell you why? You had said earlier that you thought maybe something was wrong with your body. Were you doing something wrong?
No, I wasn't doing anything wrong. They just said that my body just naturally rejected them.
They didn't say why.
No. And then they thinned my blood and did some other things. And I don't know, I was able to do it. And who knows if it was a combination of stress or whatever. At that point, I didn't care. I had a sustainable pregnancy and I was like, let's go with it. I was
Yeah.
excited.
What was the time frame from like the first pregnancy until the birth of your child? Was it like all like within a short time, or was it over a period of years?
7 years. I had 7 years of infertility.
7 years. Wow. That's
Mhm.
a long time.
And a lot of money. But he's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Priceless. It's priceless.
exactly, money is just, it didn't
How was
matter.
your how was your husband in all of this? What was the emotional aspect of all of this as far as processing the feelings and
Yeah.
I mean continuously trying and then losing each child every single time you tried? Five's a lot.
Mhm. Um, it affected it did. The first couple, he was very compassionate and supportive and stuff like that. But towards the end, he just wanted to give up. Like, I don't want to go through this anymore and that kind of thing. And I said, depends, how bad you want a kid and what does it mean? And, so we talked it out and stuff like that. And he's just like, if you can handle it, I'm just worried about you. So yeah.
Yeah, that takes a lot on your body. And like you were talking about the hormone changes and all of that. And
Mm.
I mean, I remember my first trimester, I was so emotional, cried the drop of a hat. And
Oh,
I can't imagine, like, I had two abortions. So my fear was when I got pregnant the third time, I was young, I was only 18. I thought, what if I get punished? What if this baby miscarries because I've already aborted two children and, it will be like my punishment. So I kind of was concerned about that. But right, once you got past that first trimester and you started seeing the bump and you started feeling the baby kick and all of that, you're like, no, this is great. And I know back when our kids were little, they didn't really have the ultrasound equipment they have now. And so it's incredible how much further they've come along medically to help women
right? Yeah.
sustain their pregnancies. I know um, and yeah, it's just incredible. But yeah, those thoughts that we create in our mind can be quickly flipped just when we have that emotional support and having that experience at the medical place with, just get over it, you're tough. That's frustrating because it's like there's no, you expect
There's no
to,
compassion. There's no,
right.
when you're doing your job just to do a job. It's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So how far apart are your two children? You had a boy and a girl.
15 months apart.
15 months apart. Yeah. So you didn't waste any time.
No.
And of course, probably had fun doing that. So
Right back at it.
chasing two little kids
Yep.
around and how much fun. And you have two beautiful children. I saw a picture of them. And they're young adults now.
They are 19 and 21. They are in their gap of being back to back. So my son turned 21 in March and my daughter will turn 20 in July. So
Oh, wow. It's coming up. So
Mhm.
what advice would you give to somebody that goes through something like you experienced?
So it's, you have to understand your own emotions. It's different for everyone. Just really be able to listen to your body and feel and honor it. Give yourself a lot of self love. Some people can handle it, some people can't, depending on where it's from. And getting pregnant is a privilege, it's a gift. So when that happens, um, you've already decided that you want to be pregnant, right? If someone's going to be getting pregnant and when it happens, a lot of forgiveness to yourself that happened, for you, not to you. It was for a reason. And also there's so many more blessings ahead. I mean, I think I was triply blessed by, you know, um, God doesn't want me to suffer. That was his way. Those are signs. We have signs all the time. We just need to start listening to them. And we women have a tendency to be nurturers, caregivers, and do all these things. And then we beat ourselves up about it. And just to nurture yourself and to love yourself through that process it's really huge.
Yeah.
Really get in touch with your feelings too. And feel through those emotions, because there was a longest time where I couldn't feel through those emotions. I felt like a robot going through it. And, every once in a while it will come up when my kids ask me questions.
Yeah, because I have 5 siblings. I know there's some triggers, like if you see, like my oldest son's birthday was yesterday, and last year I had posted on Facebook, happy birthday to my son who made me a mom, and that was before I was really like processing, like, we're always grieving those losses. It never goes away. And we just have a different perspective and, things like that. And I thought this yesterday when I did the post, I did it late at night because I wasn't sure. I was like, well, technically, he didn't make me a mom. I had 2 children before him, and I was able to name them. I found out that they were a boy and a girl, Michael and Tamara. And I'm like, technically, I'm their mom. And I thought, well, I'm just going to say happy birthday. Just happy birthday to my wonderful son, who's been a blessing for the last 36 years. And I can't believe he's 36 years old.
Maybe.
Told him, you're 36 years old now.
Exactly.
But it took over 30 years to process that loss. And a lot of times I saw it as like, that was my choice. And I was glad that I had that choice back then with the knowledge that I had. I was given a different perspective of what, pregnancy was, back in the 80s, the first trimester, they didn't even talk about how the baby developed and all of that. But one friend of mine told me about, how each person, when they're formed in the womb, they decide whether or not they're going to be born. And it doesn't matter how it happens, it's all divine timing. And that made me get a different perspective about miscarriage and loss of children, because I always got super angry that babies died, like young children, due to, like, there's women sharing their stories about their children, anywhere from 1 day old to 10 years old, 12 years old, 26 years old, who pass away either through accident, illness. And I'm like, why? And then you compare that to somebody who's 85, 90 years old with Alzheimer's in a nursing home. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why do these young, healthy children have to pass away when these older people are living with this disease? So the different perception that we have and the care. So I like how you said, just recognize your feelings and work through those emotions so that you can heal. And when you are being triggered, when you are feeling what had happened, just by talking about it or sharing about it, to know that it's okay, that you're not alone. There are women like yourself that are sharing their story and all of that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your coaching business?
Yeah, the other thing I was going to tell you too is that I had mentioned that things don't happen, to us. It happens, or,
For us, yeah.
in such a wonderful way. And I really believe that, God has a plan, as you said, whether they were going to make it or whether or not. But I also believe, and this is mine, God only gives you what you can handle. And he knew that, obviously I was a strong-willed. And he's like, she can handle this. She can handle this. That was something that was like, okay, I will make it through it, because and having that faith.
Yeah, and you are very strong and courageous. So thank you so much for sharing your story. So tell us a little bit about your book, your business. You have an amazing coaching program.
Thanks. I am a peak performance business mindset coach. So I wrote the book, the best-selling book, Inhale Abundance, Exhale Bullshit. And I help women use their brilliance to turn it into financial freedom, fun, and wealth. And I do have I'm launching my 6-month program at the beginning of June, and it is called Be Savage, Never Average. It's a group, it's kind of like a hybrid. You get that hot seat one-on-one coaching, but you get the concepts and theories so you have time to implement it. And we work together peer-to-peer and one-to-one. And so it's really, I'm excited about it.
Awesome. All right. And the best way to reach you is?
www.deniseoster.com. There's right up on the top right, I have pink tabs for the different pages of my website, and there's one to contact me.
Awesome. And we'll put that link in the description. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thank you for listening. If you resonate with Denise's story, you want to connect with her, go to the description, click on that link and contact with her, have that conversation, know that you're not alone. And remember, everything that you conceal is still coming out. It comes out sideways. Your body reveals it, your subconscious, and you get these triggers. So you are not alone. If you want a safe place to come non-judgmental, where you can be heard and be seen, connect with me. I have a group for women, post-abortion, miscarriage, and loss of children, launching actually today, May 12th of 2022. That description, that link is in the description as well. But I just really wanted to create that safe, non-judgmental place, especially after hearing these stories that I've been hearing, that I've been sharing on this series, Sharing the Secret. So thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe, like, review, and connect with Denise or me. Remember, you're not alone. Reveal to heal.